Hello, greetings everyone. My name is Chris Ryan, and we're here today to talk about business intelligence for energy companies and why it's more than just a dashboard that you need. And we're happy to be joined by Liz Litkowski. And Liz is the VP of Enterprise Integration for WellPoint Systems, and she uses her Six Sigma Master Black Belt status every day to teach energy companies how to combine their critical data and turn that data into actionable intelligence. So welcome, Liz. Look forward to hearing from you.
Hello, everyone.
Yes, hi. And let's talk about first, if you can explain what you mean by business intelligence.
Business intelligence, I've used here a definition from Wikipedia. And some important things to note about business intelligence is that it's about spotting key information, digging out trends associated with that key information, and then analyzing that key information so that you can turn data into critical decision-making criteria.
Terrific. Now, then the next question that comes right from that is why should you use and why should the folks on this call use business intelligence?
Well, here I've tapped into Aberdeen Group, who has some good data and some good market research associated with those folks who have taken advantage of business intelligence. In this particular case, they have measured best-in-class companies by doing a survey of more than 285 organizations and looking at the elements that make up a best-in-class company. So as they have looked at the top 20% of companies who are excellent at profits, customer service, and higher sales, they have noted that there's a very key difference between those using dashboards and those not using dashboards across all three of those key elements inside the business. So not only in terms of performance drivers, but also in terms of how the companies are measuring their key performance indicators, driving that strategy from the top all the way through, and in fact taking advantage of technology such as business intelligence to do so.
That's terrific. And what does Gartner have to say about this?
Gartner Group is another important market research company that we look to for technologies such as business intelligence. And they have taken this from a very different angle, that more than 35% of the top 5,000 global companies will regularly fail to make insightful decisions about significant changes in their business and markets. And this is a pretty important bit of information that in some ways companies are making blind decisions instead of having all that information at their fingertips.
Okay, so far, Liz, you've talked about the importance of business intelligence for companies of all types. Can we get specific about the benefits for oil and gas companies now?
Right, it really makes a difference when you can apply this to a very specific industry. It makes it a little bit more real. And as I'm part of WellPoint Systems and we focus on the energy industry, some of the information that is very critical for an upstream oil and gas organization are things like, what are my sales today? How are my sales represented by elements of gas? How are my sales represented by that I'm producing on an oil basis? So in this chart, in fact, what you'll see is that my trends are looking pretty good when it comes to gas sales, even though the actual number is not as high as it is for oil sales. The important thing here is that I'm seeing something much better than what I expected ahead of time. So it's important to know not only what is that information, but also key trends associated with that information, and have that balanced against what's going on in the market, what kind of price point can I get for my commodities of oil and gas, but also what am I producing inside my own organization. So charts such as the one that we've shown here, which demonstrates pricing information, sales volume information, production volume information, as well as looking at very specific fields inside of my organization, but then balancing that against what I predicted at the beginning of the year This could be very key information that I might like to share with my investors, for example. So applying it to industry-specific information is very, very critical.
Let's dive just a little bit deeper now and talk about a couple of scenarios. The first one here is a production target scenario.
So what I've done here is take a look at production volumes. So every day, a company within an upstream oil and gas organization takes a look at what they call their morning report. Well, it would be nice if their morning report could give them a very quick indication, just as a glance, of what's going on associated with their production. So in this case, we've used a speedometer on the left side of our chart, and the speedometer at its end point indicates the goal that we are aiming for this year. And then the point where I'm looking and the point where the gauge is showing me is where I am at this point in the year. Well, I'm at about halfway through the year in terms of time, and yet my production seems to be way ahead of my midpoint. So goodness, what's going on? Within a business intelligence dashboard, you can now drill down to more detailed information, and I can take a look at, on the right side of my chart, here are some specific fields that are interesting to me that I've been tracking from a production perspective. And what I can see is that there's a couple of fields that are performing as superstars for me. The Acadia and River Basin are superstars. However, that south field really is something that I need to take a look at.
Let's talk about another scenario real quickly here to give another flavor for how to use BI in an oil and gas environment.
So a critical thing in the oil and gas industry is what kind of assets am I using? In particular, I may want to sell off assets at a very specific point of profitability. However, I'm noticing that I had some downtime in those assets I'm trying to sell. Let me make sure that I can explain that. So you'll see highlighted on our screen the downtime that was occurring. Let me drill down to that to make sure that I can explain it to the investors that may be buying my assets.
Okay, terrific. Those are two good uses of the technology. And can you talk about some of the trends that folks are tracking in oil and gas?
Sure. It's interesting to take a look at many different organizations and the fact that they come up with very, very similar key performance indicators that are important to view. Things like looking at budget versus actual. Things like looking at finding and development costs as I'm drilling wells and setting up projects. Things like looking at production analysis. How am I doing in terms of volumes of oil and gas by state, maybe by province, maybe by country, and then drilling down to the well level. And then also looking at some land data, because I want to be able to measure my cash flow as associated to the leases that I've got within my industry. We find that many organizations look at these same key performance indicators, and they usually have a little bit of a twist that's a little bit different for their company, but at the root of it, there are some key elements that they want to be able to look at every day.
Super, thank you. And now, as always, you've given us about 8 or 10 minutes of great information here, but how do folks learn more? How do they get in touch with you and so forth?
So I've placed on the screen information about how to get to our website. It's wellpointsystems.com. So please go there for additional information about business intelligence, but also about some additional product lines that WellPoint brings to the oil and gas industry. In addition, feel free to contact me. It's liz.litkowski, that's liz.litkowski at wellpointsystems.com, and I'd be happy to answer your questions.
Thank you very much, Liz, and thanks for all the folks who have listened to your podcast here. And like she said, go to wellpointsystems.com or get in touch with Liz directly if you need more information. Thank you.